Please provide a brief overview of your company and the primary products or services you offer for hosts.
Okay, so 365Villas have been around since 2015. We primarily were for property owners, and then recently, around 2019, we started to build more functionality for property managers. We have a wide variety of different features and functionalities, including channel manager, website, integrated websites, reservation manager, unified mailbox, marketing and CRM, integrated accounting, owner management, I think I mentioned, guest app, and that's about it, I think. But yeah, we'll be able to look at all of this in more detail.
Awesome. So the second question is, which of the following does your product or service specialize in? Short, mid, or long-term rentals?
Well, we specialize in short-term rentals, but we also have developed functionalities for longer-term reservations with different billing systems depending on how many days the guest books for. So it's up to the property manager to determine what their mid-stay and long-term stays would be determined by X amount of days.
What sets your product service apart from competitors in the market? What are your unique selling points?
So what sets us from others in terms of services? I would say we are very customer orientated or centric service. We have a very strong onboarding process, which is also one of the best reviewed in different Trustpilot reviews companies. UPSs, I would say the owner statements, accounting, reservation manager, and unified mailbox probably are the most areas that set us apart from others.
What level of technical expertise are required to use your product or service effectively, and do you provide any training or support to help hosts get started?
We offer it from day one. We have an onboarding process where the salesperson would sit down with the training team and the new user, where we would explain from day one what the onboarding process is, help them hand-holding with the PMS, hand-holding with the channel manager, hand-holding with the integrated websites, or if they are bringing their standalone website to 365Villas.
Can you give 2 or 3 common challenges that your product or service addresses, specific challenges faced by hosts such as guest communication, cleaning management, price optimization, for example?
Sorry, would you repeat that question for me?
Can you give 2 or 3 common challenges that your product specifically addresses that hosts are challenged by, such as, for example, guest communication, cleaning management, pricing optimization? What are the 2 or 3 common challenges your product addresses?
So I think one of the main ones is accounting in terms of taxes. So we have properties in over 60 different locations. Taxes are done differently all around. The hand-holding at the setup stage really allows us to be able to help them, especially at the end of the year when your taxes are done. If everything is set up in the right way, the system can determine any taxes that need to be paid to the local government because of the way the taxes are set up and the way those taxes get pushed to the different channels, as well as to your own direct reservation website. And then secondly, the unified mailbox allows you to be able to communicate through different communication tools like Airbnb, vrbo chat, WhatsApp, email. We have many automated emails and tools to help, whether it's auto replies to guests, auto replies to reviews from different channels, the guest app, which allows you to communicate with the guest. So yeah, we really give the tools to enable them to keep on top of communications. There's also user rights, where they're able to add different members of the team to have different permissions, so that if they only deal with specific aspects of the business, they have that capability in 365, and other areas which they don't want to be seen or touched are not available on that user's login.
How does your pricing model work? Are there any setup fees, monthly subscriptions, or additional costs that hosts should be aware of?
So it's probably the most flexible in the market from what I have seen. What we do is we let the property manager or owner choose what features and functionalities they want to use, and only pay for those functionalities. So we split the product into many different aspects, as in the aspects that I mentioned at the beginning. You have the PMS, you have the website, and you have the channel manager. If you don't want to use one of those, well, the PMS is the base of the product, so you'll always be paying for the PMS. But if you don't want to have a website, you don't want to have a channel manager, you don't have to pay for it. And then the PMS itself is broken into different plans. So you have a professional, enterprise, and platinum plan. Each plan has built-in features and functionalities. So if, for example, you want the most basic, but there is some features that are in the platinum, you can a la carte choose those functionalities to bring in to the most basic plan. So I would say it's the most flexible in the market, and it really allows anyone who manages in different locations to be able to still have a very basic plan, but be able to use very advanced tools like the multilingual functionalities or the multi-currency. And it also allows you to be able to grow into the product. So if you start with us with 10 properties and you only need the primary features of the PMS, as you grow in properties, you will find that you need more functionalities that you might not have needed at the beginning. So you can add them at a later time to your plan.
Awesome. What level of customization or flexibility does your product or service offer to cater to the unique needs of different hosts and their properties?
Yeah, I mean, that goes with the pricing plan, right? As I said, we work with property managers in 60 different locations. So there's different tax, there's different currencies sometimes involved. There's different ways of doing your accounting. What our system does is, on a property level, you're able to manage and run everything in a different way. So if, for example, you have a different payment policy or a different payment gateway, depending on the property you use, that can be saved on a property level. So I would say the answer to that question, I would say, is the possibility of saving different ways of working on a property level.
Okay, great. And what kind of customer support do you provide?
So we have teams in different time zones, covering 9 to 7. And then we also offer every single, depending on the plan that you use, we have a dedicated account manager. So whether it's support, that's 9 to 7 on a ticketing system. Account manager, you would have their calendar, be able to make a meeting. For most accounts, we have the account manager have a monthly monthly call with each user. We really do value the feedback of our users. So we constantly have a deployment every 2 weeks where we improve design, improve UI, we improve in terms of adding new functionalities. So a lot of the feedback that we get from our users has an impact on those future deployments. And then we have training. Training is very much similar to the actual demo, where it's on Google Meet, face-to-face, cameras on, recording, and then going through the different onboarding process, whether it's helping them understand what information is needed on a property level to be able to connect it to the channel manager, understanding how they run their accounting to be able to explain the accounting features that are going to work for them, helping them set up all of their owners, what they want their owners to see, giving the owners access, making sure that the reports that are important for the owners to see are visible for them on that access. But yeah, from day one, we take a very personalized approach. So whether it's on onboarding, where you have a specific trainer and having 2 or 3 sessions a week, to when you finish onboarding, a monthly review with the account manager. And then anytime there's any technical issues, there is support in the time zone at 9 to 7. Lost your volume. I can't seem to hear you anymore.
Sorry, I was on mute there. How user-friendly and intuitive is your platform?
This is something that's really important. I think at any stage of the property manager's journey, whether they're starting from the beginning or an expert and have used many other PMSs, this is now what sets most softwares apart. We constantly look to make the usage as easy as possible, whether they are savvy in technology or not. But I would say, yeah, that one of the easiest things about our software and what we get told by users is that there's a lot of functionality in there, but it's also very easy to use, very quick to be able to get to different pages. So there's not only one way of getting to a page. With hot links on different pages, knowing that if I'm on owner statements, I'm probably also wanting a hot link to another part of the owner management to make sure that I don't get lost. The onboarding as well is a huge part of that, because with the onboarding, you can kind of explain how to use the software so that the users from day one know where to go and how to find specific parts of the software.
Is there anything else you would like to add that sets your product or service apart that you think would be valuable for hosts to know?
I guess it depends on the host. We have property managers with over 500 properties. We have property managers with 280, 5, 10. We very much take a very personalized approach. I think the most important for us is being able to understand what the property manager or host wants out of the system. And that's where we can really tailor the product towards their needs. And that's another part of what we're saying before, right? It's not the idea of you need to change your processes to work with 365Villas. It's very adaptable, the system, depending on how you work. And we've built it in that way because we have property managers in over 60 locations, and we understand that everyone works in very different ways. So what I would say is what sets us apart is really personalized approach to knowing how the person wants to run their business and being able to mirror that approach into the product so that from day one, they can see and tick all their boxes and more. The idea is that most property managers are at a stage where they know what they need, but they will get the idea of using a software is to increase properties, increase revenues, and really give as much value to the business. The only way you can do that is by joining a PMS that not just ticks your boxes, but is also able to adapt as you grow. So there's more functionalities in there that you might not need at this stage, but that will become useful at another stage. Everyone knows that the most, shall we say, hardest thing in the industry is changing software, especially as you've grown. The last thing you want to do is migrate all of that data. When you've got new properties, more tasks, be able to have to learn a new software. It's hard enough getting through all your tasks, and that's probably why you end up going for a PMS. But to double work, because at the end, when you join a software, it's not an easy process. There's always going to have to be extra work, but you're hoping that that extra work in the future, in 2-3 months' time, when everything is set up in a perfect way, you're then getting a bit of respite. But yeah, so it's about not just ticking every box, but also being able to see you grow in that software and knowing that they've got functionalities that you might not need now, but in 3, 4, 5 months' time, with growth in the business, you may need.
What are the future scopes of your product or service?
Okay, so we're working on AI tools to be able to automate things. We're also working on a concierge service to be able to self-service and help property managers gain more revenue. We're also integrating with QuickBooks and Xero to be able to do reconciliation in terms of expenses and make accounting a lot easier. We've also incorporated many tools in terms of being able to manage several properties at the same time, and using integrations, whether it's with companies that are specific to cleaning, companies that are specific to optimization in pricing, being able to get analytics. So incorporating other companies that are specific to the vacation rental for specific tools.
Awesome, thank you. And so could you give us a walkthrough and of your product and the process of setting it up and how to use the product and service and all the beautiful features now?
Sure. Let me just find the share button. So this is the main screen that you'll find in 365. What you have over here is each property with a master calendar. So all of your bookings, whether they're from the channels or your website, will come into this calendar. You can also see the price that you're sending, your net rate that you're sending to each channel. Each channel has the possibility of having a markup. So if you want to add the commission that they charge you, the rates that you'll be seeing in the calendar are your net rates. In this calendar, you can also choose a day, a check-in and check-out day, whether it's for blocking because there's renovations or the property is not available, creating a reservation, or overwriting your prices, which come from the rates table that have different seasons, different minimum stays, etc. A lot of property managers will also group their properties. So if I have a properties in a specific location or just in one building, I can choose that property group and then only see the properties that are in that group. That goes the same with saving information. So if I go to a property and I want to save different payment policy for all my properties, I can just go into the property. You have all of these tabs on a property level. These tabs have information that each channel needs to verify on a property level. And then here in the policies, for example, if I now want a full payment rather than a partial payment, I can choose payment in full, press save, and then I can save that for this property, for a group of properties with one tick, or for all the properties in the system. Since it's a big change, the system will ask you to type yes in order to not make a mistake. Okay, back to the home page. Below the calendar, you will find the unified mailbox. So all of the guests that have created an inquiry or a booking will have a specific folder where you can see their name, the property that they're booking, the channel that that booking came from, and the possibility of making any modification to the booking by pressing on the dates. If I press into a reservation, it will give me all the communication that I've had with that guest in chronological order. There is different communication tools like email, SMS, or even WhatsApp. If this was a reservation from Airbnb or vrbo, I would also have the Airbnb or vrbo chat to be able to communicate with that guest.
So if somebody was to come through Airbnb or VRBO, you'd be able to send them a WhatsApp because it's stored their number and their details that way too. And does it record the conversation in that chat window?
Yes. So any message coming from SMS or email or Airbnb and VRBO chat will be directly in here. And then when I press on the WhatsApp, it will open a different communication tool to be able to see what templates I have available and all of the communication that I've had directly through WhatsApp.
So, but it doesn't store that in that main window, conversational window. It's a separate one.
It will still store it, because when you get a message from VRBO or Airbnb, you will get an email telling you that you've received a message from the guest. So the email telling you that you've received the communication from Airbnb or VRBO chat will come into here with the message. When you respond to the message through the chat, that's when a new window opens up. So everything gets recorded in here, but while you're messaging the guest through a different communication flow, then you have a separate window to be able to see that communication flow only through that through WhatsApp or Airbnb or VRBO. But it all gets recorded in the middle as well. It's just easier for you to know what was the what was the tool that you were using to communicate with them.
Awesome.
Okay. There's also the possibility, we have some property managers that use two screens. In that case, they can use the big calendar. So this is the hot link that I was mentioning earlier. And if I have two different devices, I can put just the calendar on one and then be working with being able to make changes and everything on another screen. Okay. On a property level, the data that we store, so you have the property title, which can get pushed to all of the channels other than VRBO. You have an internal property name, so that if you know the property just as Villa Bali, then you can have it in the system as Villa Bali, but the guests can see beautiful one property building, one bedroom with a swimming pool. So a more descriptive title. We have a separate one for VRBO because they have different character limits. Then you have the property description, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, where the property is located. Here is where, for example, you can distinguish whether you are the owner, which means that you won't need the owner management functionalities, and the system can give you a different way of doing your accounting, compared to being a property manager where you work either on a commission or a fixed rate with the owner, and you have different ways of running the business. You can also set up different search filters and tags, whether you want to do a search through 365Villas or you want to do use these searches on the actual website. You also have property short codes for specific information about that property. Then you have the photos, which is
are you pushing both dynamic and static content to the channels?
So we push availability in real time. We push pricing, which I would say is probably dynamic. And then we push all of these property content. So whether it's photos, let's say tomorrow I go and add a toaster to a property. If I come over here, go to the amenities, go to the kitchen and add an oven and save it, then that's going to be always included in my listing with Airbnb, Booking.com, Marriott, any other channel that I'm working with. Does that answer that question?
100%. So, so if I was to change a description or a title or whatever, I don't have to, a host wouldn't have to log into each one of those to be able to change it. They could change it from the system and it would automatically push the static content. Obviously, the dynamic content is the pricing, which is usually done by the PMS, but static content is also quite a tricky thing sometimes because of the amount of changes one has to make.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the idea is that really by using 365Villas, you're centralizing everything to the platform so that you don't really need to enter into the extranet of any channel. That is the idea. So there's an amenity level, then there's the rates. So whether they work on our rates, here you have the possibility of adding different seasons, different minimum stays, when the season starts or ends, the price per night. If you want to have a different price for the weekends, and then for your own website, you can also push pricing for the week and for the month. You can set different lengths of stay discounts. So if someone books for 7 days, I can do a 10% discount. And then let's say I want to have a different discount for 14 days. I can just add here 14 days and then add over here the new discount. There's also rate settings where you can choose how much in advance you'd like to offer bookings for. So here I could do either a whole year, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. And I can also have a maximum length of booking. This is mainly to new legislations in different markets where they can only have a specific length for the booking. And then I can also have my last minute notice. So I could say I need a 1-day notice, or I could say actually at 10 a.m. on that day, if I don't have a booking, I want that day closed because I won't have enough time to prepare the property. Then you have the policies. So with Airbnb will always charge you their amount. With others like vrbo, Booking.com, Agoda, Expedia, you can choose your payment policy. So here it can be either a partial payment, a payment in full, or no payment required for the confirmation. And then whatever the percentage you use over here as your partial payment, the remaining payment will be taken. You can choose a number of days prior to the arrival or on the arrival date, and you can also associate a refundable damage deposit with that payment, with that policy.
Are you handling the breakage deposits at all, and the refunds of them, or and do you provide a link or through the different payment gateways? How does that all work?
So you add your refundable damage deposit to your payment policy. Then when you take the payment, most of the time you would be using, or you have to, with the channel manager, use a payment gateway to take that payment. Now, if, for example, you're saying over here, I want a payment, a separate damage deposit of $300, you're also telling the system when that is payable. So if it's upon booking or upon arrival, then the payment gateway will automatically hold that amount on the card. Then with most payment gateways, it will automatically be refunded. With Stripe, for instance, it can only hold for 7 days. So what most people would do is add the hold 5 days before they exit, which then gives you 2 days after they've exited to check that everything is correct, and then it releases it automatically, or you can make a charge depending on if there's any damage. So it's all automated with the payment gateway, the same as the payment. So if, for instance, I have a partial payment of 50% and then 30 days prior, the second payment, the RBO would pass me the credit card details of the guest with a virtual credit card. The payment gateway will take that 50%, and then 30 days prior to the arrival, the other 50% will be taken on the same card.
It will be done automatically, or it has to be processed manually?
Depends on the plan that you have. There is a functionality that can make it automatic. So here in the pricing plan, you will find advanced payment over here, where automate payment tracking, manage auto debiting for follow-up payments, and directly handle holds and refunds from your 365 account. So you don't actually need to go into Stripe, Authorize.net, First Atlantic, or WorldPay to actually make that hold. With this functionality, it will take the first, second, and damage deposit automatically. Okay, then the payment gateway. So you can work with more than one payment gateway. The system will always automatically use one, but you could, for instance, also offer PayPal, and then when they book on your website, the guest will be able to choose, I want to pay by credit card, which would use your main payment gateway, or maybe PayPal. And you can also offer the bank transfer as well as cash. Check nowadays, I don't think would even work.
What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Then you have the instructions. So you can set your different check-in and check-out times, check-out instructions, additional information in case there is an extra charge after a specific time. You have the directions with a map of where the property is located, maybe how to get to the property in case it's got a weird building entrance. And then you have a description of what takes place during the check-in and where it takes place. Lastly, you have the logistics. You have the rules of the house, which are also pushed to a rental agreement. So all of this information from policies, payments, and instructions, they are all mirrored into a rental agreement. So if you do make any changes, rather than making a change to the rental agreement, you'd make it on a property level, the change. And then if I add a new bullet point over here, my rental agreement is going to automatically have that new bullet point. You have the house password in case there is.
Is that something that they then have to sign, or is it just a?
Yes, there's a digital signature. We can have a look at it straight after.
Awesome.
I'll also be sending you an example. Then you have the Wi-Fi name, Wi-Fi password, a description, and the trash and recycling information. Then over here, you have on top of your rate, you can add any taxes that gets pushed to the channels. You can remove it from Airbnb because Airbnb have now started taking taxes for specific locations. You can add services. Services can be either set as default, which means they're included in every booking, like a cleaning fee. And then here is where we start selling different services. So these services are upon request. If someone's booking from your website, they will be able to see that there's the opportunity of airport transfer, maybe barbecue material, different trips, boat trips, anything that might be interesting for them during their stay. You can also automate services for your owner in case your owner wants to stay in the property and through their login, they block dates because they're staying in the property. You can have, I don't know, a champagne service or make sure that cleaning is done because they might not have it ready for the next guest, and the next guest might be coming in on the same day as they're checking out.
Through or can you host through let's say they make a booking through Airbnb. Airbnb obviously doesn't have an option to necessarily upsell services. Can additional services be sent after bookings are confirmed in some sort of way or form by sending them a link or a service or something like that?
Yes, so we have different automated messages. So you have the confirmation email for website booking, confirmation for channel booking, and then you have pre-arrival and welcome messages. Most of our property managers would have a website that has a page specific to the different services they provide. So on the welcome message or pre-arrival, that's where they would mention, thanks for booking with us. By the way, here is a number of different services that you can book during your stay. Explain the services. If they actually book through a website, I'm just going to show you a website of one of our property managers that sells services very well. Just going to pick some dates. So if it's coming from a channel, you would probably use the automated messaging as well as the guest app to be able to let them know about different services that you provide. And then if they're coming through the website, they can actually see it for themselves. So let's say I want this property, I can see the price for the dates that I've mentioned. When I go in the booking engine of that website and I go to book, as soon as I'm booking my stay, all of the services that you would have added in the property would be over here. So the six-seater golf cart, deep tissue massage, airstrip transfer fee, the hot stone therapy massage, I can add that. It's going to add it to the total amount, and when I go to pay for it, I would already be including that service in the stay. So this is the other settings. This is where you would be able to manage anything that you want to put on top of your price. So we have the tax area. This is where you can push taxes to all the channels, or you can also make sure that Airbnb doesn't collect this tax or doesn't get pushed this tax because they already collect it for that area. They can be set as default, and they can also be included in your commission. So any taxes for your government area. Then you have services. Again, services can be set as default because they're always included in the booking. So the value over here is on top of your price. And here setting it as default means it's always included in a booking. While you can also have services that are upon request. So if the guest is coming with a pet, there may be an extra pet fee. If the client or guest wants an airport pickup, there might be an extra cost to it, and it could be upon request rather than included in the reservation. All of these will be added to the booking engine so that they can also be advertised at the point of payment for the stay. We also have owner services.
When you say booking engine, are you talking about direct bookings on a website, or are you saying that you also push that through to the OTAs, the online travel agents?
Yeah, direct reservations.
Direct reservations, okay.
The channels will never make any service, will never offer any services to the client. They only will receive taxes and services that are set as default. Anything that's not set as default is not included in the proposition by the channel. Then you have owner services. So you will have an owner login for your owner. And if the case is that you want to set up any services when they book a stay in the calendar, you can add services that are set as default, so that, for example, over here, they have a bottle of champagne for arrival. You may also want a cleaning service after they've stayed, anything that you want incorporated every time your owner records a stay in the calendar.
So the owner gets their own login and they can see all their rentals, they can see all their accounting, they can see everything, like it's an owner portal almost. And then they can also book their own stays, is my understanding?
So they will be given a username. They will have an email where they can receive notifications for bookings or anything that you set up for them. You can add your logos so that they see their branding when they log into the account. You can set the properties that they own. And then here is where you can set the permissions. So it could be either just being able to view the calendar, also block dates, or also record their own stays. You have full flexibility on choosing what reports to make available for them. There's accounting tools like the owner statements, where you can give them a summary with an invoice of all the revenue and all of the expenses that you've covered for them, with an overall balance that you would need to pay them, and a summary of all of the payments that happened between you and the owner. And then lastly, you can also, if they have their own website, provide the same booking engine that you have on your website, so that guests can actually book on their website, and those bookings would seep into 365Villas.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the owner side of things. Going back to other settings. Lastly, to help with expenses, you have the possibility of setting all your fixed expenses. So whether you need to pay a cleaner a certain value for every reservation for when they clean the property, if you add any brochures or any soap, and you have a fixed cost for that per head, you can add that cost, and that cost can either be covered by yourself as a property management company, or it can be covered by the owner, which means that it will also come out in the owner statements. And then lastly, we have the commissions. This is where you can set the commission that you work with the owner, and if it's only based on the rent, services, and taxes. In terms of services and taxes, it can be that you have a commission on it. It can be that the whole amount of the services and taxes goes to the property management company to pay the providers and to pay the taxes for that property. Or it could be that all of the services and taxes go directly to the owner. In terms of working out the commission with the percentage, it can be either gross rent, which means your commission will be included with the channel fee will be included as part of your commission, or it can be net rent, where your commission's only based after the channel commission. The owner statement will look something like this. So you will be able to choose what information to share with your owners. For example, the guest name, number of guests, the full amount the guest paid, where the booking's coming from, the commission that was received by the property management company, your logo, the balance with the owner, which is part of the trust accounting, the channel fee that was paid on each reservation coming from channels, and you can also incorporate a signature at the bottom of it. Each reservation will be laid out with the information you have chosen. So over here, it's giving the full amount that gets paid, the commission for the property management company, and the amount that the owner will receive from that reservation. So there's the full amount from all of the payments from the guests, the amount as your commission, and the amount that the owner is receiving. Below are all the expenses that were pushed, whether they were booking expenses, one-time expenses, or reoccurring expenses that happen on a monthly, weekly, or annual basis. When you choose to send that to the owner, you have the possibility of including the file in owner statements, an invoice, which is a basic summary for the owner. So they have the owner statements to see every booking on an individual level, as well as all of the expenses on an individual level. Here is just the summary of what took place. And then you also have the trust accounting, which is a full-on summary of any payments that were sent to the owner or any payments that came to the property management company. A bit like a bank summary. Okay. Okay, we also have owner contracts where you can create a contract for an owner before you even add their property, giving all of your terms and conditions. It can have an expiry date so that once the contract is in progress, if there's a cutoff point, both parties will know that the current contract is under renewal. All of this can be edited, removed, or changed. Okay. These are all the terms. So basically, you create the template first, save the template, create it in a contract, and then that's when you can send it off to the owner. Once it's signed, it can be mapped to a property. So each property in 365 will have the contract terms with the owner.
Do you guys have like an onboarding process as well?
We do. So the onboarding process covers all aspects of 365, starting from importing.
I meant for the owners. My apologies. Like, do you have a way to create like a job list or task list for getting properties on?
List for getting properties on. No, that's part of the onboarding.
Okay.
So the onboarding would be part of getting all your properties into 365 and getting them ready to be able to push the channels. What does that mean? That means from the moment that you onboard a property to a channel, all of the pricing, availability, and content will be being picked up from 365. So we'll be there helping from first session to the second session, getting all of that information ready so that once you are using the channel manager, everything is up to date in 365 Villas. So the training incorporates all of the PMS features chosen in the account. If you buy a website with us, the getting that website ready, whether it's using our tutorials or face-to-face training with the website, and then the same with channel manager activation. Basically, all they need is an account with any channel. Once you have an account with Booking.com, Agoda, or any other channel, we can then push the property with the information that we have. And like that, you don't need to make any listings, just basically have a contract signed with them.
Awesome.
Okay. There's different steps in each one, and obviously a little bit of homework on each one to ensure that they're ready for the next training session.
So, but in the, let's say I'm a property manager, or I'm and I want to. There are certain things that I need to get, like the owner's contract. I need to get the pictures from them. I need to get the any other details. Is there kind of a place that you can create a sort of things within a property, like a project or a task list for each property that you would use to onboard a property?
No. So what we have for that is each property in the channel manager will give you its, shall we say, status. So if a property is incomplete and not ready to be pushed to any channels, it will let you know what is incomplete. So if I press on the incomplete, anything in orange is showing me that there is, for example, a property title that needs to be maximum 80 characters, or there is an address that isn't being filled in, or the description is missing. So
cool.
That property status page will always let you know which properties are not ready and which, shall we say, obligatory fields for the channels need to be filled in.
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, I think we've covered most. I'm not sure if we did the accounting.
No, let's do the accounting.
Okay, so let's look at the accounting then. So the integrated accounting will obviously have all of the revenues coming in from all the bookings, and it has the booking expenses, so the fixed expenses to each booking. But then there's also the possibility of adding a one-time expense where you can categorize different folders of expenses. Once you choose the folder it's under, then you can also choose a sub list for that folder. So for example, bills, I have Wi-Fi, electricity, water, and gas bills. Once I allocate that, I can have a small description of what this expense takes place, the amount that that expense cost, and then if I set it under property, it means that the owner will pay for it. If I set it as a business overhead, it means that the company will be covering that cost. There's also the possibility of adding recurring expenses. If you cover the expense for the owner, there's also the possibility of adding a markup, whether it's a fixed cost or it's a percentage for paying that cost up front for the owner.
Awesome.
There's also cash flow manager, where all of those expenses that you're adding may require for you to pay a third party. In that case, you can add the invoice that the third party has given you, and you can tell the system once it's been paid. The idea is that once you've chosen all the payments that you need to make that month, the system will be able to tell you the total expenses that you had, the total that you paid, and any outstanding bills that haven't been paid.
Now, do these integrate with any accounting systems?
So right now we have an integration with QuickBooks and Xero, which is in phase 1. First phase is to be able to pay your owners automatically. So those owner statements can be automatically formulated to tell you how much to pay to the owner. With one click of a button, you can get that paid through QuickBooks or Xero, where you have the bank account of the owner, and the system can tell QuickBooks how much needs to be paid to the owner. The second part, phase 2 of that integration with QuickBooks and Xero, will be where reconciliations will also be added. So if you pay by card for, I don't know, toiletries, that expense will be created in 365 from the card payment, will be added to any owner statements in the case that you're covering it for the owner, and it will be recorded in both places. The same as if you create an expense in 365, it will create the expense in QuickBooks and Xero.
You run profit and loss or balance sheet statements in here?
So once we move over from the cash flow forecast, these are all the tools where you can manually add stuff. Then you can change it into reports. In reports, you're going to have all of your expenses where you can see the titles of those expenses, be able to see everything that comes under that title. For example, property management expenses. These are the property management expenses I covered with the relevant value for each month. I can also filter by customizing the format. Then there is the possibility, there's also the possibility of seeing this on a property level, a property group level, or all your properties. The same with revenue. The same, so here we're seeing what taxes the guest has paid for each property for each month. So how much taxes were collected. This can be used for taxes as well at the end of the year with your relevant governing body. Then you have the commission, so the percentage that you charge for your services with the amount of commission per property per month or the whole portfolio together. Lastly, you have the crown jewels of the accounting, which is the profit and loss, which will give you line items on all of the revenue that came in. There may be some revenue in here that hits your company but goes straight back out as an expense. The idea is that at the bottom, on a monthly basis or the yearly basis, you know, for each property, what was the expenses entailed, what were the revenues, therefore giving you the profit per property per month or for the whole portfolio.
Awesome.
Okay, and all of these reports, similar to booking report, if I want to play with it outside of the system, I can just press download. That will create an Excel with all of the fields that we see in the current document. And then in Excel, it's going to create the same report so that if you want to add any new columns or rows, or you want to play around with the information, you're able to do that directly in Excel.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. There's also the report builder. So this is a little bit more advanced in the way that if there's specific data that I want to analyze, whether it's booking related, staff related, or accounting related, I can come in here, choose what to filter the report that I'm creating with, using all the filters available, and then also choose which data points I want from the booking. So this is everything that's picked up in the API, whether it's breaking down each discount, breaking down all the services that are in a booking, being able to see the full rents. I can basically choose a field with data and then make a report to contain all of this information.
Okay. That's great. And now I see you also have a housekeeping and cleaning reports, or sorry, not reports, an area where you can manage those.
So you have the staff related, where you can pick up the data points that we have in 365. So it could be for housekeepers, it could be for check-in managers, or it could be for maintenance. And then this is the data inside all of the tasks that you send to those people so that you can create a report for it.
Okay, but you also have a center or an area for managing those, like work orders?
So you have user rights, which is split into two different types of sub-accounts. There's the reservation manager, which is usually someone who helps you communicate with guests or reservation manager team. You can give them either full rights similar to what you have, or you can configure specific areas of the system. You may not want to allow them to see accounting, administrative reports, the marketing area. Just let them be able to edit property settings, access property settings, and access and use the reservation manager. They'll be able to use the system in their preferred language, be given a username to enter their account, and then also have an email address for any notifications that they need to receive. The operational side is more on a property to property basis. The reservation manager at the moment isn't. It's the full number of properties. You can't choose which properties they can see or they can see all of the properties, while the operations, housekeepers, check-in managers, maintenance, or concierge team, they can be based on a property by property basis. You can automatically assign tasks to them, and you can specify if it's done, housekeeping is done on check-in or check-out. And basically, once you set someone as automatically, they're going to receive every cleaning task for that property. You can then choose the templates that you want to make available to them. So there is a check-in manager notification as well as housekeeping notification, where you can say, for example, with the cleaner, 7 days prior to the job, or 5 days, whatever, X days, I want them to receive this message about a clean for this property. You can have a different template for each property. You can also add attached files, whether you have a picture of how you want the property to, the bedroom to be presented. And then with this notification, they'll also get a link to enter into 365, and all they will be able to do in 365 is have a housekeeping report where they can see all of the tasks that they have. It will already assign their name if it's automatically set. They can see the number of day, if there's a same day changeover, if that client is checking in that day, the number of nights that the guest stayed. You can choose whether to show the guest name and the information of the guest, or just the number of guests and number of adults and number of kids. The property name, when that job needs to be completed by, the arrival form that the guest filled in, any notes left by the reservation manager team, what dates that they stayed for, any photos that they want to upload before or after the job, and then once they confirm, they can say the property's been inspected. The next stage is property's been cleaned. Last stage is properties being checked for after the clean, and then property is ready. Once they put property is ready, if we go into the calendar, we're going to see a small orange line at the beginning of some bookings, like over here. That is just letting me know that on the day there's a small orange line, a cleaning and the property was ready on that day for Bernardo to come in, or for Lucia to come in, or for Ramon to come in.
Cool.
Okay. The maintenance is a little bit more advanced in the way that there's tasks that can be created in there. So let's go there. So here I can create tasks. I can name the job that needs to be done, the property that needs that task, what category of expenses will this cover, the maintenance person that will be doing the job. If I block these dates, I can, if I need to block the dates in the property for that job to be done, I can do that as well. I can mention the hourly rate for the person doing the job, the total amount that it costs, and the expense that is going to be created. And then the status, whether it's been started, it's in progress, or it's been completed. There's also a long description in the case that they need to buy some specific materials to be able to do that job, so that everything is documented.
Cool.
Okay, there's also a check-in planner, so that anyone who does check-ins will have a similar format to what the cleaner has, where they can see all of the information required, be able to see the arrival form, and again, be able to let you know once the check-in has been completed. In the case that they sell services and there is specific services for the guest, the check-in agent can also see all of those services, and if there's anything required to be set up for that service, like take a high chair or take anything to the property for the arrival of the guest booking that service, then they'll be able to see that in the check-in or housekeeping report.
It's very flexible, I must say. You've got a lot of different options and things.
Yes.
And those are all covered, obviously, in the when you do the onboarding.
Yes, this will be part of the onboarding. So depending on what account you have. So for example, we have accounts can differ in terms of being an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. You can see it in 3 different currencies: dollars, pounds, or euros. And then here is where, depending on the number of properties, the plan price will differ. In terms of the plans, you have the most basic. So we have, for example, some agencies that don't work with channels. So most of the different features that we have in 365 are broken into different bolt-ons. The bolt-ons will have a description of what that feature contains. And then here it will let you know what plan that feature is embedded in. So for example, the professional has the reservation manager, inquiry management, payment manager, all the way up to Excel compatibility. Then you have enterprise, which adds the mobile version, the user right management, the owner login, owner statements, housekeeping and maintenance, invoicing, check-in planner. So there will be a different training schedule for someone doing with an enterprise subscription compared to the basic. If at any point you're using, let's say, the professional and you decide to add owner statements and owner login, there will be extra training that is given once you've added or incorporated that feature to your subscription.
And so one of the questions that just came up is in my mind is the WhatsApp and SMS to cleaners and things like that. Do you guys offer that?
Right now, we only offer the email communication to cleaners and owners. The WhatsApp and SMS is incorporated with the guest communication, but not right now with the owner. It's been something that has been asked for, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be coming very soon.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, and then, so yeah, the second version, which is incorporating the owner management and a bit bigger teams with user rights management and housekeeping and maintenance. The third is the Platinum. The Platinum contains the autoresponder, advanced payments, so being able to automate payments, trust accounting, performance analytics, the digital signature for the owner contracts as well as the guest contracts, an arrival form for them to be able to give you the real email address, for them to be able to give you the passport details of each guest, whichever questions you want to relay to the guest. Enhanced online booking, which is discounts and specific terms just for direct reservations coming from your website. Multi-channel communication is to incorporate the Airbnb vrbo chat, as well as WhatsApp, as well as SMS with guest communication. Dynamic pricing, where you can set lead time discounts, so depending on how many days in advance or how many days close to the arrival the guest is booked, as percentage discount. Quote chaser, which helps you with all the inquiries coming in. If the guest goes cold on you, then you can set up different messages after they've made the inquiry for the system to chase them to confirm the booking. those messages will only stop if the guest messages you or if the property gets booked for those dates by another guest. And then you also have the owner contract module. Now, there's also the possibility of adding, let's say, owner contract module to the most basic plan. I can choose the most basic plan, and then a la carte, I can pull in functionalities that are in enterprise or platinum. So there's no need to use a higher end plan just for one or two functionalities that that you may want from those plans.
Okay, great. Okay, so you can so you can really customize what you would like to be able to use in your business.
Exactly. There is some features that don't come in any plans. So the integrated accounting, the QuickBooks integration to pay your owners, the dynamic report that we saw where you can create reports on different data points. You have long stay logic, so that if the booking is more than X days, you can set up a different payment policy for those guests. There's the marketing and CRM and MailChimp integration, which is, I don't think we looked at that, so let's quickly have a look at that. So with any of the plans comes the contact database. The contact database will contain all of the guests that have ever booked with you or made an inquiry or were part of a booking and had filled in their name in the arrival form. You can upload past contacts. You can download your current contact database. You can delete contacts, and you can create audiences so that you can send things directly through MailChimp. You can also create campaigns and templates in 365. The main reason to incorporate MailChimp would be if you want to be able to see when the clients opened that email and their interaction with call to action buttons.
Well, that's intuitive.
Then you have the possibility of adding tags. These tags can either be used for your guests or they can also be used for your owners. And then lastly, you have the discount and promos area where you can set standard discounts for your website, which will put a watermark on them on your home page with a discount page as well. You have promotional discounts with just coupon codes that guests can use for a percentage discount. And then we have a specific area to have Airbnb discounts.
Airbnb discounts, are those pushing directly through to Airbnb?
So let's say you want to put a early bird discount only for Airbnb clients. So if the client books 12 months in advance, they're getting a 10% discount.
Okay. But that pushes through to Airbnb is my question.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, cool.
You're only setting that discount for Airbnb. So it's only Airbnb that is going to be receiving it.
Okay.
Then you have the multiple languages and multiple currencies. So you can set up all of the templates in different languages. So every time I have a pre-arrival message or a confirmation message, I can set that up in French. Our basic template is already translated. If you add anything in English, you would need to add the French, the French version in the French template. You have German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, Dutch, Polish. You have the possibility of other. Take into account any languages with a different numeric alphabet may have problems. For example, Thai or Russian, it won't work with that. The other thing that the languages is used for is the website. So you can also convert your property translations into the other language, so that if a guest comes to the website, on the top right hand corner they'll be able to see what languages they can see that website in, and all the property information and the property pages can be translated into a different language. The same with currencies. You can add different currencies, whether it's to see reports in 365 in that different currency, the price that you're pushing to different channels in a different currency. The guests will also be able to see the currencies that you incorporate in your account will also be incorporated into your website, so that the guest, if you have pounds, they will be able to see the pricing in pounds on your website. Then we have some integrations with third parties. So we work with Price Labs and Beyond Pricing for revenue management. We work with Online Trust Accounting Plus in Australia for a connection with the bank. We work with CSA Insurance for insurance cover, whether it's damage protection or travel insurance. And then we work with Check-in Scan and Checkin.io for being able to get police reports directly to the police in Portugal, Spain, Italy, and countries where that is an obligation. Step 3 is choosing the channel manager. So you have Channel Manager Lite, which incorporates Airbnb and VRBO, while the other channel manager is the full channel manager with all 50 OTA channels available. Both have a real-time connection for pricing, availability, and content.
The other channel manager with all the other options, is that through like a Rentals United or a SiteMinder, or is it your own direct?
Through Rentals United. So Airbnb and VRBO, we already have direct integration with. We are currently working on Booking.com. So by the end of May, Booking.com will be incorporated into the Channel Manager Lite. Right now, it's available through the full Channel Manager. The next will be Google by September. And then by December, we will also have Marriott as a direct channel. Now, we've worked for many years with Rentals United. The idea is not for us to become a full-on channel manager. We have a lot of work with the PMS, so we would prefer to keep our core development to the PMS features. But with specific channels, we're seeing that there are advantages for our users for us to have a direct integration. For example, the Airbnb and VRBO chat, the possibility of incorporating the reviews coming from those channels. So nowadays, it's becoming more of a need to have a direct integration. And that's why we've been slowly growing in our direct channel integration. There's the guest app, which I'll be sending to you. Basically, it has all the information about the reservation, all of the pictures, all of the information about the property. It has a unified mailbox for the guests to speak with you and for you to speak directly back with them and be able to see all of the history of the conversation. They are also able to, if there's a cancellation policy that allows it, cancel or change the booking. They're able to see recommendations. They're able to see the person who is going to be checking them in. So it's a place where all of the information about the booking is stored and the guests can get to at any point without having to go through all their emails. And then lastly, there's the incorporation of a website. So these are all the options available with a standalone website. So there's the booking engine and search engine, which can be added to your standalone website for availability and pricing to be connected with your website and for the guest to be able to book. There's the review module and WordPress plugin if it's a WordPress website. And then there's also an API connection in the case that you want to bring in the data to your own back office. If you don't have a website, there's also the possibility of getting a new website through ours. We have WordPress themes that are specifically made for the vacation rental industry. We've done this for many other property managers. You can create a website with us. We also have our designer who can offer services to help create pages. Any user can buy a website and would have tutorials and documentation on how to incorporate their logos, add more pages. All of the property information will automatically go to that website and give the guest the possibility of booking from day one. But there is also a lot of customization that can be done on the content manager of WordPress. If you don't have anyone in the company that has WordPress experience or knowledge, then you can use our designer. Tell us exactly what pages you want created, and we have different packages that we can offer our own service on those websites. And then at the end over here, you have the total price, and you have the possibility of creating an account. And once the account will be created, then the account manager and training team will be in contact, and training will be done similar to these calls, one-to-one, recorded, and going through all the steps that are needed on the onboarding process.
Awesome. Okay, wow, you guys got a lot of stuff in here. So for a beginning user, would you say that the entire process, I mean, this is very geared towards property managers. How do you feel about like a one-to-one user, a newbie starting out?
Yeah, I mean, 365Villas was actually made for owners. So there is different ways of using 365. It is made primarily more for property managers, because property managers have more properties. So a lot of the functionalities are made for this. So for example, if I go to save anything, I can save it just for that property. I can save it for a group of properties, and I can save it for all my properties. The way that you would set up as an owner is basically inside the property. On the property profile, you can tell the system, am I the owner or am I a property manager? Depending on what you choose over there, the system is going to incorporate features that are more property management if you're a property manager, and features that are more owner relevant. But the training and everything is very much the same. Our trainers know what to incorporate in the training when it's an owner of the properties, or if it's a company that own those properties and don't work as a property manager. There isn't too much different in terms of the training and how to use 365. It's just more for reports and for features that would be needed that it differs. We used to be more, I would say our sweet spot was around 15 to 20 properties. In the last 2 years, we've got a lot more functionality, and we've grown a lot more with users of over 50 properties. So it's not something that we see as often as before, the 5 to 10s and just over. We tend to have more clients with 50 to 60. That's been incorporated in our training, that's been incorporated in the service that we provide, and that's also been incorporated in the actual product itself.
Okay, awesome. And okay, so what else do you think that are, so who would be your ideal target market then? What is, would you say?
Our sweet spot, I would say, is a property manager of 50 properties. Now, we have property managers that are looking at getting more visibility online, so the channel manager is huge for them. We've also got a whole load of array of features that can help them be able to analyze how to get more visibility. We also have a huge amount that are looking to automate more, so maybe they're using smaller tools and now have outgrown that and need more functionality. We also work with actual channel managers that are growing, that need to be able to manage everything in one place. So it's a very mixed array of the type of client, but in general, it's become more than 30 properties that that they see the full value of the tool. We have a lot that start with 10 and have ambitious plans to get to 40 and 50. They probably know they can use a software that has less features, but what they don't want to do is do a migration at some point and have to learn a new system once you've hit that sweet point of growth. So they prefer to, with our pricing page, pay less and not use those features, but know that they're available, so that once you have hit your ambitious targets, it's just a matter of incorporating to what you're already using, and not having to do any type of migration.
Yes, because that's always a challenge. And I can't remember if I asked you or not, do you offer webhooks or anything like that?
So we do have webhooks on specific. So for example, if you're using an API integration and you want every 5 minutes to check new bookings that have come in, there would be a webhook to let you know from the last call you made, this is any changes that have been made, rather than making the call again.
Okay. And can you create triggers or any of those kind of things to be able to get data out?
What type of triggers would we be talking about here?
Let's say you wanted to create your own triggers to get data out using your own systems, etc. For booking.
I mean, there's the API. That's what the API integration is for, right?
Okay, cool. So okay, so you have the API. Okay, fine. And if we go back to the menu, let's see if there's any other little questions I saw from the menu. The right-hand side menu with the icon. Yeah.
So basically, this is all the business report features that we have. Then here you have all of the property-specific information. So whether you want to add properties, you want to group properties, link properties, which means if someone's looking at a property on your website, any link properties will be below.
Okay.
All the property information, payment settings for specific properties, the pricing, being able to set dynamic pricing, so different discounts, and then the different revenue management tools. Here you have the channel manager and website features. So here you would be able to add the channels that you want to work with, push the properties that you want to push to each OTA, and also choose a percentage that you want to put on top. All of the website features, whether it's the website that is bought and integrated with 365, or the booking engine or search engine that you want to use for your standalone website.
Okay.
Then you have the guest app, guest reviews, arrival form, digital signature, and here all the owner management part.
Okay, got you. Joe, you guys have come a long way since I last saw your stuff. You guys have done very well. Okay, so on the top left-hand side, there was a menu where you click on S3. What was that all about?
So this is more of an account menu. So if you want to get in contact with support, you are able to email support directly. If you want to make any changes to your account, so here you can see in your profile all of the information that you've given about your account. You have account details where you can see how many property licenses you have, how many you're using, all of the different bolt-ons, website, channel, and then the integration with VRBO and Airbnb. You have the possibility of adding any bolt-ons, removing properties, adding properties to the channel manager, adding a website, the renewal of your subscription. That can all be done within this area. The SMS and WhatsApp usage. So we have a bolt-on to allow you to use SMS and WhatsApp. Each have a cost in sending SMSs or WhatsApp. So you can manage your budget over here and how much you want to put towards each one. Also generate reports to see the usage and things like that. And lastly, you have the billing history. So where you can see all of the invoices for your monthly or annual subscription, as well as if you need to change the billing card for the monthly subscription, you can add a new card at any point.
And so do you feel that there's anything that we haven't covered, or that you feel that are the main selling points that you wish to convey to the viewers watching this demo about your product?
Yeah, the last thing is, I'm not sure we had a look at this, but so we also have a lot of clients who don't work with any OTAs and just need a reservation manager. So this reservation manager, what it allows you to do is, first of all, search for the guest needs. So if they say, okay, there's 5 adults coming, they need a bedroom each, and it needs to be in a specific location and needs to have specific features and needs to be available for the first week of May. Once I do a search result, the system will give me all of the properties that are available. I can choose the one that I want to send a quote for. Obviously, I can still send my website, but some of the times clients want you to be a bit more specific and help them choose the best property. So I can choose the property that I think is going to suit them the best, and then also let them know about suggested properties. Once I create that quote, all I would need is the client name. I'm just going to put your details in so that you can get this email. Let me just get these details. Okay. So with just the email, you can send this. You can send this information. Okay. You can also add where the guest is from and the number, but that is not obligatory. Once I press proceed, I can customize this reservation for the guest. So I can choose a different payment policy to my usual policy. I can add any special terms to the rental agreement. I can remove or add any taxes. I can also remove or add any services. So say, for example, they are coming and they want an airport transfer. I can add that, which is then going to add it to the invoice to the guest, as well as add it to the price. It's also going to add it to the rental agreement so that they know line by line item what's included in the price. I can also include discounts, which again will be added to the invoice. It will also be added to the rental agreement so that they know I'm giving them the best price possible. And I can make any amendments to booking expenses for this reservation or to the commission with the owner. Once I'm happy to send this off to the client, this is a template that is within 365, so that you can choose every time I create a reservation in the calendar, I want this template to come out, which can have short codes, picking up your name, picking up the property that you're proposing, picking up the individual, the period of stay, length of stay, number of guests, giving a glossary, line iteming any taxes, services, or discounts. And then if I had this picture of the property, it would show the picture of the property. And if they press on the actual property name, it would take them to that property website, and specifically those dates open with the price that they're seeing over here. If they want to continue with this property, they can see what payment needs to be made today and when the next payment is due. There'll be a link for them to pay via the payment gateway, or if you want to also add your bank transfer details, you can also do that. There would be the rental agreement for them to sign and convert it into a PDF. And then there's the invoice that will also be included in that send. Once I send it to the client, the system will show me the format the guest is going to see the email, the reservation as an inquiry in the calendar, so not blocking those dates, And then the system will also add a new folder in the unified mailbox so that I know that I've sent an inquiry to Brian. I can see all of the past communication by pressing on the folder. If Brian was to pay via the payment gateway, it would automatically change the icon over here. If Brian wanted to pay via a bank transfer, then I can manually press on the payment icon, which will take me to the payment schedule and manually record that payment.
In terms of breakage deposits?
So the breakage deposit is incorporated in the payment policy. So if you've said that there's a 300 damage deposit, then depending on what you've set it as, it's going to be taken automatically. So over here, I have a separate refundable damage deposit required, the amount and when it's required. If, for example, there is breakage, I can automatically hold a certain amount of that damage deposit. So in the payment policy,
if I remember, you're doing that towards the end of it, or when does the breakage deposit amount and hold in terms of refunds and the gateways? How does that work again?
So with Stripe, there's a 7-day limit that it allows you to hold it. So you can choose to hold it manually 5 days. In the case that the reservation is longer than 7 days, you can manually hold it on the 5 days before the exit, and then it gives you 2 days to make sure everything is fine before it automatically gives it back. Other payment gateways can allow you to hold it for as long as you want, but basically every single one allows you to automatically refund it unless you come into here and choose to charge a specific amount on that damage deposit, which in most cases would be through here, because it would be a card that you already have in the system that will contain that hold.
Okay,
so it's holds that usually are done more than a charge and then a charge back. Because with Stripe, you can do that. It charges them 300 and then it gives it back to them. What's going to happen there? You're going to have a transaction rate of a percentage on taking that deposit and then refund it back. Again, you're going to have a charge on that transaction. So it would probably be better to work with holds so that there's no charge from the payment gateway to you for holding that amount, and there's no charge back when you release the hold, unlike when you charge a damage deposit.
Okay, cool. And then so that's holds the damage deposit. It specifies it to the client as well, and awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's all incorporated in the templates. So for example, in terms of if there's any payment received, you have a funds received email that goes out with a latest payment showing the exact amount that you've received. If a payment's overdue, there's an overdue notice that goes out. And then with the deposit refund, if everything goes well, then your deposit refund has been processed. If there is a charge, that's when there's a manual intervention needed, where you would specify the amount that you're holding on the hold or the actual damage deposit that you've charged.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. And is there anything else that you think that that people watching this will want to know about, that is special about your software specifically, that you want to get across?
I mean, I think we've gone through all of the product. In terms of service, we're very customer centric. We also do develop. We can also develop different features that aren't incorporated in the product. We have a development team that is working on every 2 weeks deploying new functionality. We've done specific work for specific clients, so that's not outside of our service. We can offer tailor-made features to anyone who needs it. And yeah, we're there to hold your hand from the moment that you begin with us. So yeah, it's important to know that you do have an account manager and a team helping you get fully set up. We know that that's super important at the beginning as well as any stage in the relationship. But yeah, we very much take on feedback from clients, and this is how we're able to get to such a complete product, right? Making sure that there's no gaps in our service or in our product.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time. And yeah, looking forward to showcasing this to the users.
Perfect. My pleasure, Brinn. And if there's anything that you need on my side, don't ever hesitate.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, mate.
You take care. Have a lovely week.
You too. Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye.